Businesses do it every day in the real world.
American taxpayers deserve it.
That's never happened in the federal government. I mean, it's easier to divorce your spouse than to get rid of a federal employee up here. That's not the way the world works, is it, Mr. Secretary?
It's not the way the world should work. And I give enormous credit to President Trump, who had the boldness to say, if there's a right thing that needs to be done and it's difficult, please do it.
So you're telling me that the Department of Energy, in the 76-day period before their boss was going to leave office, gave or loaned money to entities that had no business plan?
Correct.
No financials?
Correct.
Today on Hot News Today, a fiery Capitol Hill exchange. Senator John Kennedy grills Energy Secretary Wright in a heated subcommittee hearing, diving into billions in taxpayer dollars and what Kennedy calls spending porn. What happened in just 76 days at the Department of Energy will leave you stunned. Senator Kennedy welcomed Secretary Wright, mentioning he'd read his book. Wright spoke of unleashing American energy, cutting red tape, and nuclear innovation. But Kennedy wasn't there for just nice words.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary, how many employees did the Department of Energy have when you took over?
Just around 16,000 government employees.
How many does it have today?
A little under 16,000 today.
How much have you reduced it, percentage-wise?
So far, only a relatively small amount. We are looking at larger reductions, and as Senator Murray mentioned, we have offered voluntary plans and programs for people to compensated by the government as they transition to another career. We've done this slowly, carefully, with a lot of engagement with people, and while looking at how to restructure our department. So the ultimate reduction in workforce will be larger than it's been today, but today our payroll has barely moved.
Most entities in the private sector of the size of the Department of Energy know how to modernize and downsize, do they not?
It's essential to survival as a business. If you want to roll with changes in the marketplace and the business, you better be ready to change your organization.
Okay. I just read recently where Microsoft, one of the most successful companies in the world, is going to reduce its workforce by 6,000 employees. Do you think that's going to be the end of Microsoft?
No, it won't be the end of Microsoft. These are, I will say, these are the hardest things to do, whether it's in a company or a government agency. You know, these are people's lives, and our department is blessed with tremendous men and women who've made enormous contributions. But you're right, Senator Kennedy.
Kennedy went straight to workforce numbers. How many employees when you took over? About 16,000, Wright said. How many now? Still about 16,000, but planning reductions.
We have to look at it critically and right size and align the organization to the missions and challenges of today.
Let me ask you a couple of specific questions, Mr. Secretary.
Kennedy pointed out that in the private sector, downsizing is survival, referencing Microsoft cutting 6,000 employees. Then came the big money question: $99 billion in new appropriations, $30.5 billion in authorizations, and over $400 billion in loan authority.
As a result, we had a party around here under the Biden administration. And when you have a party, you have to pay the band when the party's over. As a result of the party, if you count the Inflation Reduction Act, which was the Green New Deal, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, also part of the Green New Deal, the CHIPS and Science Act, your department got $99 billion in new appropriations, $30.5 billion in new authorizations, and loan authority of over $400 billion. How much of that $400 billion authority to loan money did the Department of Energy use?
Nearly $100 billion. Nearly $100 billion. Thank you for making the point that more money, as is shown in your graph and the numbers you quoted, and more people, that headcount in the department grew over 20% during those 4 years. Our electricity output of the nation as a whole grew about 2%, and the cost per unit of electricity grew 28%.
Kennedy didn't mince words. The Inspector General flagged many DOE loans as high risk, projects the private sector wouldn't touch. He cited a $400 million grant nearly given to Chinese companies, then pulled. Billions more went to Stellantis and Blue Oval, even $850 million for a foreign billionaire's solar plant in a flooded market.
Well, here's what
we didn't deliver results for all that.
Here's what the Inspector General said about some of the loans. The Inspector General, these are the Inspector General's assessment, not mine. The Inspector General called many of these loans, quote, high risk, And he said that these loans were designed to promote innovation by financing projects, fine, not otherwise acceptable by private equity and investors. What does that mean? That means that the private sector wouldn't get near these projects with a 10-foot pole, would they? Only government would put up the money, wouldn't it?
That's correct.
For example, he found that DOE, under your predecessor, announced that it was going to make a $400 million loan. Actually, it wasn't a loan, it was a grant to two companies. They announced it. And then somebody pointed out to them that they were Chinese companies. They had to pull the grant back. Why are we loaning money? This is another issue brought out by the Inspector General. Why are we loaning $7.5 billion to Stellantis? They can't get a bank loan themselves. I mean, J.P. Morgan and Bank of America have been shoving money out the door for energy projects. Why did we loan $9.63 billion to Blue Oval? Why are we doing all of this? I'm gonna quickly give you an example. I had a gentleman, I'm not going to use any names, come into my office yesterday. He's from a very wealthy family in another country. He wants to build a solar manufacturing plant in America. He's putting up $1 billion. You know how much the American taxpayer is going to put up? $850 million. So he's going to get, thanks to the American taxpayer, a $1 billion plant for $150 million to produce solar panels, which the world is awash in. This is unconscionable. And I hope you'll do something about it, Mr. Secretary. Now, at some point, we're going to get real specific about saving, and I'm going to expect you to get real specific with us. I don't want to not fund anything that's vital, but I'm tired of the spending porn. I'm tired of it.
Kennedy's frustration boiled over. This is unconscionable. I'm tired of the spending porn. Kennedy asked about the 76 days between Trump's election and Biden leaving office. Wright confirmed $93 billion in loans and commitments went out in that short window, more than double the previous 15 years combined. Some projects had no business plan, no financials, sometimes not even a location.
Mr. Secretary, I want to go back to some of your earlier testimony, be sure I heard it correctly. The 76-day period you're talking about, that's the period between the time that President Trump was elected and President Biden left office, is that right?
That is correct.
And during that short period of time, 76 days, how much taxpayer money went out the door of the Department of Energy?
From the Loan Program Office in loans and commitments, $93 billion. Well over twice as much as in the previous 15 years. So,
how do you vet and do due diligence on a loan in 76 days? One loan, much less $93 billion. How do you do it?
I think it's probably pretty clear it wasn't done in many cases. As I mentioned, I'm told I'm holding back clearly in place stuff. There is lots of funds that have gone out the door and commitments that were made from businesses that provided no business plan, no numbers about their own financial solvency or how this project
So
can
you're
actually
telling
work.
me that the Department of Energy, in the 76-day period, before their boss was going to leave office, gave or loaned money to entities that had no business plan?
Correct. Correct. A number of those were were before the 76-day period as well. I've come in with great concern about how this institution, this great American institution, has been run and how American taxpayer money has been handled.
Kennedy pressed, "You're reviewing all these for theft or incompetence?" "We are," Wright said. Kennedy's reply? "Good. They should be ashamed." Kennedy made it clear he supports cutting unnecessary DOE jobs, cleaning up bad loans, and stopping wasteful spending. Wright credited Trump for letting him make bold changes and vowed to keep rooting out waste. Kennedy thanked him and reminded him the record stays open for more questions. In under an hour, we went from friendly greetings to explosive revelations about billions in questionable spending and a 76-day cash dump. Oversight isn't just important, it's urgent. We'll be watching every step of this cleanup. Hit subscribe and join me on Hot News Today, where we hold power to account.